If you see the history of hooch in India in the last 100 years, or for that matter, even in the world, the reason why it happens, the main culprit here is always the methanol. That's what we'll be discussing today. Hello everyone. Welcome to Supercoaching Nirnay IAS by Testbook. This is Venkatesh. In this session, I'll be discussing about the recent hooch tragedy which has happened in Tamil Nadu. Why do you think that such kind of tragedies happen? What are the solutions for that? And also understand some kind of technical aspects of the process, right? So let's try to understand this. See, as a public administrator, the first thing you need to understand about is saving the lives of our people. And this is a tragedy which is happening since ages, or for that matter, I would say it's definitely right that every year there is an unfortunate huge tragedy across the country, and it's been the case in so many years, right? So we need to look into this kind of a solution. What we need to do, we have to get that perspective right, and also what can UPSC can ask out of questions of that, whether you are aware of such events, why do such kind of events happen, what is the technical aspects. They might also ask in the prelim section as well. So our understanding is, first, the event, the unfortunate societal issue happening around us is what we need to know, and then we got to look into the deeper aspects. So hooch tragedy, what do you mean by huge, right? The hooch tragedy, what do you mean by that? In fact, just a minute, let me see the comments. Okay. Right. So if you see the, okay, any kind of comments, any doubts you are able to have? Okay. So if you see the hooch, it's a commonly used term for poor quality alcohol. Commonly used term for poor quality alcohol, where it is derived from Hoochino, a native Alaskan tribe that was known to produce a very strong liquor. So anything which has more amount of intoxication abilities, right? I think the recent newspaper, if you have read it, from the Hindu paper and the Indian Express, they have called this intoxication as something like a kick, right? That's what they have called it. So this extra intoxication, that's a very dangerous one, and this is which is the dangerous thing. Now, so what is huge? Anything, anywhere, if it is a country made liquor, not from the regular process of the factories and all, homemade liquor, and which is not part of the following of the rules and regulations as stipulated by the government, and which is usually having more amount of intoxication, that is what we call it as a hooch. The problem with this is, when you prepare that with lack of standards, lack of safety standards and all, automatically they use something called methanol, which is a highly toxic alcohol. In case of a ethanol in illicit liquor production, which is a very dangerous thing to us. In fact, that's what the present problem is, right? So what we need to understand is, we need to understand the procurement and hazards of methanol based liquor in such kind of things, and also a regular idea of why do such kind of tragedies happen. The first thing. Then you should also need to understand, it comes under the purview of which one? It comes under the purview of the food safety and standards regulations, which stipulates the maximum permissible quantity of methanol in different liquors. They might ask you, which is the organization which deals with this? This is what it is. Then I'll ask you one thing. If you observe the events happening in our country and all, unfortunately at the state level, there are many states which are dependent on the financial revenue, which is excessively dependent on alcohol. So they tend to increase the prices because of the exorbitant taxes. Because of such kind of taxes, the alcohol prices of the regular alcohols which are available, the prices tend to be very, very high. So whenever you find that alcohol are extremely highly charged, number one, or you will find that in some of the states where there is a banning of the alcohol, in either of these combinations, there is always an unfortunate demand which is created for homemade liquor, where especially the poor people who would be suffering on, who would be the victims of such kind of events. So wherever you have observed more amount of taxes which are levied by the states, or else number two, the banning of the things. See, unfortunately, we all have this idea that ban alcohol, that is the solution. But the things which happened in the last 70 years, if you observe, if you ban it, a combinations of rise of illicit liquor, number one. Number two, a combinations of things like, increasing mafia usage, and also corruption involved in our institutions has led to actually rise in such kind of unwanted deaths through Hooch tragedy. If we have seen recently in Tamil Nadu, almost around 38-40 people have been killed in the recent tragedy, right? So if you see this one, what we need to understand is, first, how is any alcohol produced? If you see it, alcohol production, there are two basic ideas: fermentation, distillation. So when you talk about fermentation, which is a very, very natural process, say like you can see talk about the things like in age old practices, the beer or else even the wine which is prepared, it is all prepared through the natural fermentation process. It is a simple process. When heated, yeast reacts with sugar, which usually products from grains, fruit, sugarcane. Usually when you talk about these kind of alcohols, they even use kind of a wastage of the fruits as the raw material. This is another challenge. Then where they ferment it and they produce a mixture containing alcohol. Basically, all these kind of things, what happens is, the beer, wine and all, they are less than having around, for example, beer, you'll be having around 5 to 6% of alcohol content. Wine, some of the things it can vary, say up to around 12% of alcohol content. So if you want to make it anything much more intoxicating, much more stronger, that is above the permissible limit, above the limits, then instead of fermentation, you have to go to the process of distillation. Please understand how do this hooch is happening. That's what I'm trying to tell you, hooch. So for this kind of distillation process, now what is distillation? So what do? They physically separate the alcohol from a fermented mixture using evaporation and condensation. So for that, they have more heat. So the boiling point of heat, the boiling point of water, the boiling point of methanol, the boiling point of ethanol, they vary, right? So for example, the methanol, if I'm not wrong, it boils around 64-65 degrees Celsius. Ethanol, somewhat much more higher than that, right? So the problem is, whenever there is, as per the regular standards, if it is a regular production of the country, of the regular ones which are organized, their production is usually following a decent amount of process. But when you talk about the illicit liquor and all, they don't follow any kind of a proper process. That's what you see. Unlike branded liquor, which is produced in factories with sophisticated equipment and rigorous quality control, hooch is made in more crude settings. What do you mean by crude settings? Without any quality checks. So when there is no qualitative checks, especially in the distillation process, this is where they don't properly observe. No proper observations and no proper understanding about what is the extent of methanol available in that kind of tragedy. Methanol is highly dangerous for human body. That is what it is. Have you understood the process? Simple point. Any kind of alcohol which is being prepared, naturally you prepare through fermentation process. And if you wanted to increase the percentage of alcohol content in it, you have to distillation, there is a distillation process. This distillation process is carefully observed. There are regulatory qualitative checks and control for the branded beverages, whereas for the unbranded beverages like hooches and all, this is where you will find the challenges, because they don't qualitative observe when they are heating up, how much and all, what is the concentration level of methanol and all, they don't observe it carefully. That is where the danger lies. This is number one I want you to understand. As you move forward, another point of understanding you need to understand is, there is an unfortunate event of, because of the additional kick and all additional intoxication, there is also a diversion of methanol from the industrial level. So you can see that methanol is produced from the industrial sources, which is used in various industries, and that is being diverted for the illicit liquor production. Okay, so that is one. Or otherwise, they can also be illegally synthesized. Whatever the source of the methanol, they are getting into that. Then the problem here is regulations. Often, some of the in some of the tragedy of the hooches tragedies in our country, it is the local MLA who has been found in a region to get more money out of these kind of events. Unfortunately, we also got such kind of things. The weaker law and order mechanisms in our country have also made it sure that there is not kind of a, we are not trying to prevent them. Rather, unfortunately, it is being continued. This is another kind of a tragedy which we have, right? See, all these examples I am trying to tell you. More amount of taxes, banning, or else this kind of idea which I have told you right now, MLAs using these kind of things and all. These are the examples which you can use in your mains answers, especially in ethics, in essay, wherever it is feasible and all. That is where you will get the perspectives right. You will get a right idea of the observations which you can represent yourself in your answer writing, right? Then moving forward, why do you think that they substitute for ethanol? Is they are also having some advantages like, cost savings, which is significantly cheaper to produce than ethanol, and attracting substitute, deceptive similarities, that is one of the major problem we have. Both are very similar and disastrous, but the problem is it can lead to blindness, organ failure, even death, as you see in the Kallakurichi Hooch tragedy. This is the consequence. So what they can ask you? They can ask you a question about what is methanol, what is ethanol, what is the variants and all. That can be a possible science and technology question for you, right? Moving forward, as you see the Kallakurichi Hooch tragedy, we have seen the tainted liquor production which happened. Methanol was illegally added to country-made liquor, and this caused a deadly outbreak in the Kallakurichi district of Tamil Nadu recently. So you remember Kallakurichi Hooch tragedy 2024 as an important example of this kind of lack of proper regulations in our country, or else the ethical aspects of these kind of things, even in an essay paper for this year and the next year, right? Then there is widespread poisoning because of this. Hundreds of people have consumed the tainted liquor, where at least we have seen around 40 people who have been killed. And now it sparked outrage. It promoted investigations into the liquor trade and that lacks regulations. The government has formed a committee to look into it. They have recently even, transferred an IAS officer, and all these kind of things were done. But basically, these are all, yes, something to be seen that we are doing. They have done one kind of an idea. But what are the long-term solutions? How can you prevent this? The key thing is always about prevention. How can you prevent? Anyone, can you tell me how can you prevent, my dear? Let's see your perspective. Anyone who is here, can you give an idea of how can we prevent it? Let me see the comments. Come on, tell me. Yes, Gayatri. Come on. Can you give an idea? Right. Okay. If you see it, let me talk about the solutions. The first thing, whatever the methanol production which is happening and distributed, have a stricter licensing, have strict licensing about the production of the methanol. Look into the improved traceability of the supply chain concerns, so that I think here you can use the technology. For example, the technologies, the latest technologies where you can regularly monitor which is moving from one level to one level, right? The bitcoins and all, whatever you have studied, the technologies involved in bitcoins and all, it can also be used here to observe it. So improved the traceability, increased penalties. Yes, all these are one step, regulation and control. Another aspect is to brave this as an opportunity. For example, use this as an opportunity and empower the public. One aspect is regulating the thing. Another aspect is public empowerment. How can you do it? You can talk about education, the awareness levels about the methanol and the importance of consuming only regulated and licensed liquor. That you should need to do it. You have to make it sure that as a policy, governments are not looking for alternative things like excessive taxing the alcohol industry, so that automatically there is a demand for this. That is also government need to look into considerations, right? Then there has to be proper reporting mechanisms and effective channels which especially look into these kind of things. That is one kind of a monitoring mechanism. Then definitely community engagement. You need to engage with the community. You need to use the social media channels. You can use the use of celebrities, right? Yes, to what extent they are useful, we never know. Some things can work out, and that can, so you need to use kind of the celebrities, the community engagement and all. Ultimately, the solution is how are you monitoring the grassroots levels of these kind of tragedies, right? This is what we need to focus upon. So what can you do? What kind of ideas which you can provide? Some of the solutions which I have seen are community level engagements in a very, very unique way. As a community level, making it sure that at the village level, the leaders can make it sure that there is no illicit liquor which can be growing in one kind of an area. And in that way, as you keep on doing that, that is when you can prevent such kind of tragedies. This is one aspect of thing you can do. So then that's what we are trying to tell you. There has to be, look at the dimensions which I am trying to tell you. On one side, you have to strictly regulate them. If you don't regulate them, the methanol can be alternately used. That is one. On one side, you can need to awareness the public, quick responses of the emergency team so that we can save certain lives. This is one aspect. And collaborative efforts with respect to the government, the law enforcement agencies, the community organizations to curb the illicit liquor trade. Different levels. So one of the aspect as a official we need to have is how we need to understand the solution. What is the role of the what is the role of technology? What is the role of the government? What is the role of the law enforcement? What is the role of the NGOs, civil society organizations, community awareness, all a combinations of what we need to do so that we are able to prevent or reduce such kind of events. As an official, we should always look into as an official, when we are given the power of handling the responsibilities of the people of your district, you have to look into multiple dimensions. A consistent, proactive approach of an IAS officer can definitely lead into certain kinds of good solutions. Right. One more point beyond this, I was trying to tell you. What are the symptoms and all? This also can be one possible question out of this. Blindness, neurological issues, organ failure, respiratory distress and all, which can also happen because of this. This can be one possible question out of that. So, from a prelims point of view, I want you to focus methanol versus ethanol. And from the mains point of view, I want you to focus on this kind of a solution. Any further examples and case studies you have? Which you can use in your ethics paper, essay paper and all. let me know about it. I will also do more research on any kind of new case studies associated with these kind of things, what steps government has taken or any local IAS officer has taken, how it led to some kind of a change in the society. I will try to identify these things today and I will put forward in my Telegram channel. So for more such information and all, you can get into my Telegram channel so that that information is being provided, which you can utilize for your mains answer. More than that, this is what we need to do as a society is what I am emphasizing upon. Hope you have understood an approach of learning the tragic events around us, what we can do as a society, what as an individual official you can do, and how we can bring efforts to bring a decent change. I hope you have loved this, you have understood this video. Any further doubts about this comment, doubts about this video, or any doubts about the concepts here and all, please ask me. We are happy to assist you, and you can always have a conversation here so that as a peer-to-peer learning as well, you can learn and get out of the, you can learn and understand the events around us. That's it for today. Until we meet next time with a new topic, thank you all of you. Jai Hind. Hope such kind of huge tragedies will not be anymore in our country. We will see hopefully that this will keep on reducing it. Thank you.